Call of Duty. I can think of no other game franchise that is the epitome of being both great and terrible. The Call of Duty franchise began in 2003. Developed by Infinity Ward and running on the id Tech 3 engine, the original Call of Duty started its roots in World War II, a setting that would become the home for the next two installments of the franchise, Call of Duty 2 and 3. Although their depictions of historical warfare were respectable and often awesome, the original COD games were not exactly new material on the block. The Medal of Honor franchise predated the original COD trilogy by 6 years, offering similar combined arms and infantry-style gameplay set in the same time period.
This is a rescue mission, so watch your fire and don't give your position away.
Electronic Arts would develop 6 Medal of Honor games, partial sequels and spin-offs, before the very first Call of Duty was born, giving them a head start on what would culminate in one of the greatest publisher rivalries among gaming, EA versus Activision. The race to outdo each other would send Activision on a wild roller coaster, releasing game after game after game in systematic fashion. The efficiencies produced by Activision in the COD games were unheard of. Outside of sports games, no other game on the planet would hit the accelerator in such wicked succession, cementing the Call of Duty franchise as the epitome of the yearly franchise. After Call of Duty 2, we would get a new game every single year, never missing a beat. This rush to the finish line approach would be one of the most controversial aspects of the Call of Duty franchise, one that would be argued as the cause for its present-day burnout, especially when you consider the gameplay similarities between successive games.
Our journey to victory has begun! Death to the MPLA!
Most people, though, saw first lights with the series when COD 4 Modern Warfare hit the scene in 2007. If not for Modern Warfare, the popularity of the COD franchise would probably not have exploded in the way that it did. Because COD 3 was a console exclusive, the jump in quality to the PC from version to version seemed tremendous. Lightning quick gameplay, modern weapons, and a high production value campaign, we got it all with Modern Warfare.
On my mark, go!
While many features were present in its predecessors, it was this game that introduced gameplay staples that would become standard for years and years to come. Multiplayer progression, low time to kill streaks, Twitch gameplay, grenade spam, and of course domination. I can recall many fond days playing Modern Warfare and its sequel. The domination game mode was certainly the most popular as it provided all the tools to fuel that Modern Warfare chaotic and quick multiplayer action. With control points, the domination game mode would herd huge clusters of people together, ducking in trenches, peeking out through bus windows, sprinting, flanking, and fighting it out to control territory on the map. It allowed the good players to shine, and the bad players quick trips to the graveyards. Smart players learned very quickly to grenade spam the common camping nests and to run around the outskirts of the control points, picking off those dumb enough to run through the no man's land exposed areas. And when enough scrubs were cleaned up, they can then utilize the killstreak bonuses to launch airstrikes from a safe distance and to call in that dreaded chopper. The domination game mode allowed all of this to happen, and it was fantastic for its time. But Call of Duty would go on to release 9 more games in the 9 years leading up to the present day. Each game would be developed by either Treyarch, Sledgehammer, or Infinity Ward, yet they all retain the same fundamentals. We would get some combination of any prior game mixed with a new time period or a new setting. Guns, features, campaign narratives, and gameplay would all be swapped out depending on the setting, or often recycled and reused. By Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, boredom kind of sank in of the modern military gameplay, during which time COD would jump ship into the future with games like Ghosts, Black Ops 2 and 3, Advanced Warfare, and of course the most recent, Infinite Warfare. In order to make sure their games appeal to everyone from the age of 5 to 97, COD games have got to do 2 things in every single installment: run well on everyone's setup and never stray too far from what brought people to the series to begin with. The former is one of the main distinctions COD makes against its competitor Battlefield. Call of Duty games are technologically inferior, yet marketably superior. If you've ever wondered why COD games don't look as good as other first-person shooters, this is the reason. It's not that the games aren't built by talented people, it's because it's a choice. To achieve this, COD games often scale back on horsepower in favor of performance and uniformity, allowing them to bypass the frustrations of having to optimize a much technologically richer game like Battlefield 1. Battlefield games are for a different crowd anyway. The people want a more visceral and lifelike experience in those games, at least in terms of eye candy and high-power visual effects. This barrier of entry is one of the reasons why COD games outsell Battlefield games year after year. The existence of such accessibility allows COD games to get in the hands of so many diverse people, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. With such a popular game, expectations can surface from so many people, maybe too many people. It's one of the great ironies of the video game industry. The more people that buy your game, the less control you have over meeting the wants and needs of the greater, growing player base. Some people may want to see slower gameplay, higher time to kill, and maybe vehicles, while others beg COD games to stay as lightning fast as possible. It's a crossroads of popular opinion, veteran players calling out for the return of what made games like Modern Warfare so good, while new schoolers cheering at the announcement of outer space COD games. Not everyone can be pleased, and that is a big problem for the COD franchise. When COD strays from its tried and true formula by giving people laser guns, wall running, or spaceships, many people feel betrayed at the loss of that familiarity. This was no doubt an issue that culminated in the mass downvoting of Infinite Warfare's trailer in 2016. As you would expect, as time went on, there would be a fight to keep players loyal to a franchise that kept ping-ponging back and forth in an effort to appease as many people as possible. While the nominal sales counts were tremendous and still are, a downward trend is seen in the aggregate. Some say the series plateaued with Modern Warfare 3, or that maybe Call of Duty has simply lost its identity somewhere along the way. While not everyone has been good, it's safe to say that the single-player campaigns of many Call of Duty games show some real potential, and I do say potential for a reason. Not every great popcorn action-style flick game requires a great character to be fun. After all, sometimes the game is just meant to be that kind of Hollywood action-style fun. But the COD games do take themselves pretty seriously for the most part, so we do expect to care about the campaigns through the eyes of the main leads. But the problem is, there are only really a handful of well-developed characters in the COD series, namely the traumatic upbringing of and general badassery of Ghost, the evolution of Soap throughout the series, Sergeant Frank Woods, Alex Mason, and maybe a villain like Vladimir from the Modern Warfare series.
That was no message.
These are all really great characters, but then a game like Black Ops 3 comes around and gives us the most uninteresting, banal characters in the entire franchise. Hendrix is everything wrong with Call of Duty supporting characters, just another nameless face that you're supposed to care about, when in fact you could honestly care less about him. Part of having a compelling first-person shooter narrative requires that characters do be built up, be central to the story, and of course be put in danger that makes the player fear for their safety. For the most part, scripted gameplay sections and cutscenes are where most of that takes place, and once again COD is a pretty mixed bag in this department. A mediocre campaign isn't going to impress anyone. We often see many COD campaigns being quite thin, failing to tackle any sentimental, moral, or ethical issues in detail. Is war right or wrong? How does losing a friend actually transform you? Or what are the effects of PTSD? Questions that the games do ask on occasion, yet rarely explore on any intimate level. Maybe it all stemmed from the very controversial airport massacre scene in Modern Warfare 2. The human slaughter showcased in this level was very disturbing to many, although for the mature audiences it was quite a memorable scene. Either way though, Activision received so much backlash for the portrayal of mass killing, and I'd be willing to bet it made them think twice about releasing mature content, good or bad, in their future games. And that's not always a bad thing because they are action games anyway. Many COD campaigns have thrilling set pieces and action scenes such as Turbulence from Modern Warfare 3. This awesome plane hijacking, gravity-defying mission where you have to protect the Russian president is one of the reasons why COD campaigns can be so compelling. The bad guys are closing in, the plane is going down, bullets are flying everywhere, and then the plane gets ripped in half as you crash land mid-shootout. It's true action fanfare at its finest. Hunter Killer was another great one, sending you on a wild ride underwater, and then the shootouts in a submarine, and finally fleeing in a boat to the tune of wild waves and gunfire. So yeah, COD games have gotten really good at providing this kind of process: exposition, action, downtime, scripted set piece, and then climax. The same can be said for many other COD campaign missions, such as Vendetta from World at War or Cliffhanger from Modern Warfare 2. And just like a good story, these missions are best when they supplement more personal missions such as One Shot, One Kill, and All Gillied Up from COD 4.
Okay, I think I see him. Wait for my mark. Target is down. Nice shot, Lieutenant.
These quieter, sniper-style missions offer some great downtime to get to know the characters, as there is often some empty space for conversation when all the hoopla gunfire is on pause. But then Activision throws in missions like Loki from Ghosts and the Snorefest, Death from Above. Good or bad, the campaign for COD games is almost always both inconsistent and exhilarating. It's a hit or miss area that I hope Activision will one day learn how to tie all the components together to deliver us a truly memorable experience. Much of the inconsistency of the COD franchise can be attributed to its developer rotation. The trinity of Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch was formed to make sure each game felt a little bit distinct and had a little bit of a different flavor to it. While this is true, it also bred disparity. I think it's undeniable that Treyarch's classic zombie modes and Origins are far and away the better experiences when compared to something like Extinction from Ghosts and Exo Survival from Infinite Warfare. Zombies represent supplemental content for COD games, and it's hard to say that Call of Duty doesn't provide that. The best COD games gave a great campaign, some co-op zombie action, and of course a fleshed out multiplayer component. The Twitch-style gameplay shooter is a monopoly kind of owned by Activision. If you like scorecards, curated maps, high-octane fun, points, and having kills handed out like candy on Halloween, COD is your game. You run around gunning people down at laser-like speeds, you activate some kill streaks that piss a lot of people off, you win, you lose, and then you do it all over again. There's no story and no exposition. Regardless of time period, the map design is always similar: a box-style map with defined corridors, cover, and buildings managed specifically to funnel players into conflict with one another. If that's your thing, that's awesome, but me, not so much. Call of Duty is a series that's both great and terrible. One that has stuck to its guns for the most part, yet sometimes mixed it up with new templates for their campaigns. But are they all the same when you boil it down? I think the better question is, what do you want out of a Call of Duty game these days? There is too much to expect and too many players to cater to. That is the great irony of Call of Duty. Activision cannot please everybody. The fans will buy them, the naysayers will complain, but then probably buy them anyway, and Activision will never stop making them. They're nothing exciting for me anymore, but if you do accept them for what they are, I think you can call COD games both great and terrible. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I expect this video to be pretty controversial, so drop your opinions down below and tell us if you think COD is great or terrible, or maybe both. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you in our next video.